Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to today's mini lecture, and today we're going to be addressing how to balance a redox reaction. This is one of my favorite activities to do. So this is going to be part one of the videos, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at how to follow the steps that I've given you. So step number one says that you need to separate your equation and write the half reactions for the oxidation and reduction. Then we're going to balance all of the elements except for the hydrogen and the oxygen. Then we are going to use water molecules, H2O, to balance out my oxygens. Then we're going to use the hydrogen ions, H+, to balance out the hydrogens. At that point, we now have to address the overall charge. So we're going to have to balance out the electrons. So let me get started and tell you how we can do, or show you how we can balance one of these reactions. So you can see that I have a reaction of solid copper, and it's mixed with nitric acid, and it yields a copper ion and nitrogen monoxide. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to write out my two half reactions. So my copper on this side is going to yield, and I'm going to come over to the other side, and it says that I'm going to get copper plus 2 ion. Then my other half reaction is going to be N8 and HNO3, and it's going to yield NO. So step number one, I just did it. I wrote out my two half reactions. The next thing I do is I use, I just go through and balance. So if you look at this one, I have one copper here, I have one copper ion here. So it's the same element, so they're balanced. I have one nitrogen here, one nitrogen here. So the rule says do not balance your hydrogens and oxygens yet. Now, my carbons and my nitrogens, they're balanced. I didn't have to do anything. But now I need to balance out my oxygens. So there's no oxygens in this half reaction, so I'm going to come over to this side, and I'm going to say, okay, I have 3 oxygens here. I have 1 oxygen here. So that means that I'm going to have to use an H2O, but only have 1 oxygen in 1 H2O, so I'm going to use 2 H2Os. When I do that, that now gives me 2 oxygens, 3, and 3 oxygens. All right, so on this same line, I'm going to go through and do my hydrogens. So I'm going to go back in, and I was just checking to make sure I didn't make a mistake. I'm going to do my hydrogens. So on this one, I have 1 hydrogen. On this one, I have 4 hydrogens. So that means that I'm going to have to add 3 of these hydrogens. So at this point, I'm going to stop and I'm going to skip down, I'm going to rewrite, and I'm going to redo, because now I've balanced everything out except my electrical charge. So if I look at this, you see how I have a plus 2 on this side and a 0 on this side? So I'm going to have to add, and then I'm going to say copper plus 2 electrons. So when I add those 2 electrons right there, what that does is that gives me an overall charge of 0 and 0. So now I'm going to look up here. We've got 0 charge, 0 charge, 0 charge. I've got a plus 3 charge. So I'm going to have to add 3 electrons to this side. So I'm going to go back in and rewrite it. And guys, I would highly suggest that you rewrite these, because if you try to do them all on one line, it gets so confusing. So I just rewrote it all the way out. I want to make sure I've got a positive 3, because I've got 3 of these positive marks, so I had to have 3 electrons. Now I'm getting ready to combine these, but look, do you notice that I have 2 electrons in my products over here? I have only 3 here, so they're not balanced. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to distribute a coefficient through the entire half reaction of each one of these in order to get my electrons to be the same. So I know that 2 and 3 have the least common multiple of 6, so I'm going to multiply this half reaction by 3, so I would get 3 Cus yielding 3 copper ions plus 6 electrons. Now I'm going to multiply 2 through all of this one. So when I multiply 2 through it, I get 6 electrons plus 6 hydrogens plus 2 HNO3s, 2 NOs, and 4 waters. So guys, when I look at this, all of a sudden, my electrons are the same. I have 6 in my reactants and 6 in my products. So at this time, when I get to here, this is what I do. I say, I can now cancel out. Once you've canceled out your electrons, you're ready to combine it back into a complete balanced equation. So I've got 3 coppers. Now on this side, you see how I have plus 6 hydrogens plus 2 HNO3s yields, and then I come back over and I do my products. 3 Cu plus 2, and then I come all the way over here and say plus 2 NOs plus 4 waters. So guys, this is my completed balanced equation. So I'm just going to double everything. I've got 3 coppers, I've got 3 copper ions. I've got 6 hydrogens here, plus 2 more, which is 8. I've got 8 hydrogens here. I've got 1 nitrogen. I've got 2 nitrogens. I've got 2 nitrogens. I have 6 oxygens. I have 2 plus 4. It's balanced. Guys, these are almost impossible to do just by guessing. You have to go through step by step by step in order to do these. So I hope that that has helped you with the first one. I am going to do a part 2 in just a few minutes, and I will do another one for you just so that we can practice. Thank you.